Please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Gendron?
Here.
Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Hoey?
Here.
Mayor Kennedy?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Dakota?
Here.
7 present.
The chair would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the regular school meeting of Wednesday, October 18, 2017, and to place them on file by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. Hoey. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under permission to enter. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve permission to enter. Do we have an amendment to the motion? Do we have a second to the motion? Second by Mr. Gignac. Mr. Dakota?
I make a motion that we put off putting permission to enter on item number 7.73 until after the presentation.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion? That motion is seconded by Ms. Doherty. Discussion on the amendment to the motion. Mr.
Yes,
Hoey.
I don't know why we're doing this, but surprise, surprise, surprise. Why isn't the city solicitor here? I think that's why we're going into an executive session to talk about this. I thought we did something on the floor, and I don't even know why we're taking that off there, Mr. Dakota. I'm just asking you, the maker of the motion, last time we were here on, we approved Pride Star, and then you weren't on that vote, and then all of a sudden you're here tonight trying to do this motion, and I'm just curious why.
If I could.
Yes, I'm
Mr.
confused.
Hoey, yeah, all right, so I probably should have tried to get in touch with every member of the committee before. I spoke to the city solicitor, and I think we'll learn why the motion is appropriate when we go into executive session. If that satisfies you for the
Thank you,
time
Mayor,
being.
thank you.
Ms. Doherty.
Delay that item until after the presentation.
Yes.
I believe those are the words.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment to the motion? Mr. Gendron.
So this has nothing to do with executive session.
Well, the matter would be taken up later on, which would be nothing to do with executive session right now.
So we're going into executive session for later on to talk about LSAA contract, right?
We're going into executive session at the end of the meeting.
Collective bargaining, update on, and discussion on LHS site litigation. That has nothing to do with anything that's on.
We're going into
Permission to
executive
enter.
session at the end of the meeting to discuss several different items. However, it would be appropriate to go into executive session in a few minutes to discuss the bus contract.
So that
And then
wasn't,
come back.
that wasn't part of this motion. We're separating this out right now. Has nothing to do with an executive session.
That's right.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the amendment to the motion? All in favor of the amendment to the motion? Roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
No.
Mr. Hoey?
No,
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 nays, passes.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion as amended? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as amended? All opposed, so voted. Chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session at this time in order to discuss, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Before we do that, if we can take item 7.3 out of order.
where's that one? Is it?
That's the last one. Communications.
Right here, okay, I got it. Then we'll do the other.
Thank you. I think we have all parties here for a great event, and I'm going to ask my deputy to introduce the parties and explain. Thank you.
Here this evening to explain, to share with us the wonderful contributions from Coats from and Above, our district support social worker Ingrid Markman, and retired firefighter Mr. Larry Finn.
Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight. I'll have to use my teacher voice, though I'm not a teacher. So thank you for having us here tonight. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you about a wonderful effort between the Lowell Fire Department, especially Larry Finn, retired firefighter, and Lowell School Department to provide coats for the children of Lowell. And the title of the effort is Coats from and Above. You can see behind me are these wonderful thank you notes. Coats from and Above has been going for, this is our third year, I think, Larry, right? Come on up, Larry. It's our third year, and
It's our third year, but our 14th year of collecting coats. The first year we collected 75. Mike McGuire, who doesn't like to take credit, it was his idea. So we brought 75 to Anton's. There were 5,000 in a pile. So we didn't know where they were going. They go all over the place. So from then on, we gathered hundreds and hundreds. We collect between 500 and 800 used winter coats every year. The last 3 years, we bought approximately $6,000 worth of coats for kids in the Lowell school system, 8,000 last year, and we're gonna buy 10,000 this year. So it's 100% nonprofit goes to buying coats for kids in the Lowell school system. Never will a penny be used even to buy a cup of coffee. I can guarantee that because I started it. But there are 4 executives from the fire department, Brenda Casella and Paul Casella. Paul's the lieutenant on the job. Mike Boldaghini and Mike Ryan. Mike Boldaghini's a lieutenant on the job, and Mike Ryan's a captain. So it's the whole department, our family and friends, that make it happen. And it's going to keep growing. I'm going to live into my 90s. My dad lived to 89. My plan is to live to my 90s. We're going to keep it going till then. Thank you.
there'll be a lot of lucky children in Lowell. So if you ever have the chance, next year, we will be doing it again, and
One more thing, we have 2 accounts, Enterprise Bank and the Firefighters Credit Union. Both accounts say Coats from and Above. Anybody can make a donation. It can be 5 cents, it can be $5,000, maybe $1 million. No, it can be any amount, any amount. Thank you.
Thank you.
we do it at Kohl's, and Larry runs the Kohl's event. I was there this year and last year, and you've never seen so many happy children
So
and excited adults.
Kohl's gives us the sale price and 30% off. Plus they give us Kohl's bucks, plus they give us Yes points. We pay 35 cents on a dollar for a coat. So Kohl's, the kids get to go to Kohl's in October, they pick out their own coat, and they wear it because they picked it out. Thank you.
Thank you again, and thank you, Larry, for all your efforts.
You couldn't get me a green one? No, I'm just kidding.
Under memorials, we have a memorial for George N. Sapasaris, retired Lowell School Superintendent, and for Gavian Candelaro, Lowell Public School student. Anybody- Do you want to say something? Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take a quick moment, just because with the passing of Superintendent Sapasaris, you know, the city of Lowell really lost a true educational lion, someone who really, from his early days in the district, just championed the cause of education for all children across our city, and we are so grateful and lucky to have had such a great leader in our district for so many years. His commitment and really his inspiration, I think, really has shaped the true face of our community and the way we look at education here in the city of Lowell. I will say he was the first superintendent I worked with when I first came on this committee. And he taught me more in that first year than I had a right to learn. He was really just an extraordinary leader who was so very generous with his expertise. And our district, we wouldn't be where we are today if it hadn't been for the great work and the great vision that he brought to that role. So we are very much in his debt, and I know that we all offer our sympathies and condolences to his family and his many, many friends and colleagues across the greater Lowell area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gendron?
I think Ms. Martin said it well. I concur with everything she said.
Okay. Mr. Hoey?
Yes, I'd just like to send out an apology that I didn't make his funeral. I was in Tampa, Florida at the time. So to the Sapasaris family, I'm sorry for your loss. But I remembered I gave him a motion. I made a motion to give him a 3-year contract back in 1997. And I do miss the man already. I visited him many times this past year. I even visited him when he was in the hospital. And I'm just going to miss him. Goodbye, George.
Okay, we'll move on to motions. We have one motion this evening by Ms. Martin. Request that the administration provide a status report on the state of operations at the Robinson Middle School, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if the administration is prepared to give us some updates this evening. I had learned via Facebook of some changes, so I would give the administration the opportunity to give us whatever information they could at this point. And then if we need to wait for additional information, we can go from there.
We were preparing a detailed report for next week meeting, 15. If that meets we'll be happy to give it to you on the 15th.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Next, under reports of the superintendent, the first is communities that take,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
I'm sorry. Can I request that we move number 7.4, the Lowell High Fall athletics piece up, so that we can address that before we get into the formal reports?
Sure. Mr. Jenner is asking that we take item 7.4 out of order. If there's no objection, we'll do that by general consent. Hearing no objection, we'll take 7.4 out of order, which is the Lowell High Fall 2017 Athletic Community Service. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah. Robin? I'm going to ask Assistant Robin Desmond, and I think we also have the Director of Athletics here available today.
Thank you. Mr. Dave Lozinski, our athletic director for Lowell High School, is here I'm inviting him to come up to the podium to speak. This report is on the Lowell High School athletic teams for the fall 2017 and their community outreach and community service and Mr. Lozinski will speak more to it.
Thank you very much. So we have several of our fall teams got together and did several community service activities. Starting with the football team, they partnered with the Merrimack Valley Food Bank, reaching out into our community, collecting canned goods and non-perishable items for the annual Merrimack Valley Food Drive. In addition to that, the Lowell High School girls volleyball program hosted the annual Pink Out for Cancer event, raising over $600 for the Lowell General Hospital Breast Cancer Research Foundation. In addition to that, the Lowell High School girls soccer program donated all proceeds from their senior night to the Lowell General Hospital Cancer Research Foundation as well. Also, the Lowell High School field hockey program raised $1,785 in donations for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. The team also walked in the October 1st Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund Diabetes Walk in Lancaster, Massachusetts. The team also held a strikeout diabetes game on September 25th. The Lowell High School girls swim and dive team also has participated in many events in the community outreach program this season. One event is Michael's Run. This event is in honor of a Lowell High School teacher who has passed away. Entry fees from this event are donated in form of a scholarship to a Lowell High School senior. Also, on October 27th and October 21st, the team volunteered at Katie's Closet, at which the team processed donations from the community to be distributed to low-income families. In addition, the team also volunteered at the Alternative House, taking a stand with the Alternative House and assisting in beautifying the residences. Also, the Lowell High School Boys and Girls Cross Country Program has volunteered in each of the previous 5 Thursdays in September and October in the middle school cross country races. Our student athletes have held various jobs, including, but not limited to, handing out sticks at the finish line, being a rabbit for the races so the younger athletes know where to go, and running buddy with some of the student athletes with disabilities. They also have volunteered at the Bay State Marathon on October 22nd and participated in a canned food drive on November 4th and volunteered at a benefit at Megan's house. As you can see, while our student athletes are certainly talented on the competition field and they excel in the classroom as well, they most certainly strive to make our city a better place for all. And I've got to tell you, being a resident of this city for 27 years, I have never seen kids of this age do as much in this community. It is fabulous. It is phenomenal. We have got the best kids that I have ever seen, and I am so proud of them. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gendron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Lozinski for giving us that report on community service. I think this adds to the, what was it, we calculated over 300,000 hours of community service that this district has done over the past year in the community of Lowell. I think it's been a real point of emphasis for this committee and this administration that in the Lowell Public Schools, yes, we strive to educate our kids as best we can, but we also want to make sure they know that they're part of this community, and it's up to them to participate in this community. And the 300,000 hours that we contributed over the past year are a testament to that. I'm glad to hear our student athletes are taking part in that. I know the ROTC program at Lowell High is a big contributor to community service, and many different clubs and classes and schools do so many different projects. So it's great to hear, Mr. Lozinski, what our student athletes are doing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely everything you just said, Steve. I've been saying this forever, that I think Lowell High School has the best kids around anywhere anyway. I've always said that. I've also said that it's the best-kept secret in this whole state. People have no idea. They see Lowell, and they don't see Lowell's kids as we see our Lowell kids. They are great kids. The ROTC kids, I can't talk enough about our ROTC kids and how much time they do give to community service, always, all across this city. They start right from September, right through the end of the school year. They're always out there helping and doing something else in the community. So kudos to them. Kudos to our sports teams this year doing all of those hours. Very, 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 very pleased with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to the translation for Channel 22 educational programs follow-up. Any discussion regarding that item? Hearing none. Okay. I'm sorry. 7.1 is communities that CARE survey selected results spring 2016. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you. I know we have one of the interested party, and my deputy has been working with them, and I think they would like to present something. Go ahead.
Actually, Dr. Toof is here from UMass Lowell Research and Engagement Community Center at the university. If anyone has any questions about the survey that is conducted 3 times every 3 years for our students in middle and high school, and her department has provided a brief report of those results. And if you had any questions relative to the report that was provided to you, she's here to respond.
Go ahead.
Say the same thing. Would it be possible to just get a brief kind of executive summary of your results in the comparison to the past 3 years, just for anyone who doesn't have the report that may be watching and would like to know what the results had been?
Sure. This survey is done, as Ms. Durkin was saying, every couple of years at the high school and the middle schools. And while we weren't involved in the analyzing the data this particular time, we were 2 years ago. And so what that gave us the ability to compare the results from 2014 to 2016. And it seems as though a lot of the things, and it measures risk and protective factors, and also alcohol, tobacco, and other drug 30-day and lifetime use. And it's fairly similar risk factors and protective factors as the last couple of times. And then also, I feel like the results seem better this year than last year when it comes to alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use. There's a lot of numbers that have gone down, but as I say in the report, the numbers may not be statistically significant changes, but they do show a little tick mark down in some of the areas. Some of the areas have gone up. So, for example, the use of marijuana, and that seems fairly typical probably because of the changing views of marijuana across the nation. The report has a lot of yellow, and the yellow means, oh, this is better. So there seems to be a lot of places where things are getting better, even if it's a little bit. I don't know what else. There's also a little section on prescription drug use, which is new, and it's not a validated tool. It's not validated questions, so you look at it with caution, but it doesn't show anything very dramatically different than the rest of the country, and in fact, some of the things look a little lower than last time as well.
Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Toof. I just wanted to, add in looking at the numbers of the risk factors, certainly it was important, but I really found the protective factors to be really compelling information. And I think that that's really something that we can be paying particular attention to as we move forward. So I thank you very much for your time presenting.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this was really important to look at and to think about because we're in the middle of an opioid crisis, as we all know. And I think that the schools especially starting at the middle school level, maybe even younger, can have a huge impact in helping our children to make better choices and not get caught up in this whole crisis. But one of the questions that jumped out at me when we're looking at the lowest scores for protective factors, I didn't understand what family rewards for pro-social involvement meant. Is that something that we could help with? And what does that mean?
I'll tell you. I can show you I can tell you what they asked. One minute. Family rewards for pro-social involvement. The questions that were asked were, my parents notice when I'm doing a good job and let me know about it. How often do your parents tell you they're proud of you for something you've done? Do you enjoy spending time with your mother? Do you enjoy spending time with your father?
I don't know if there was something that we could do with that, except maybe to get more involved with the families and engaging with our parents more. Was there any other things that jumped out at you that would be instructional for us as we go forward and look at, where we try to put our emphasis on family engagement and, areas like that with the community, other areas that we could focus on to maybe help increase those protective factors and decrease the risk factors?
I think I agree with what Ms. Martin was saying about really focusing on those protective factors in general, and are there ways that we can reach out with this data to our youth-serving agencies across the city where they can take this information and really try to think about what can we do in our programming that would beef those up? What can we do that can look at those risk factors and not forget about the risk factors and figure out how we can make sure those don't stay as risk factors? So I definitely put it back on those who have a lot more experience and knowledge than me, and which are those youth-serving organizations that do such wonderful work, including the schools.
One other question, sorry. This one had to do with the risk factors, and the top risk factors for both ages were community disorganization and family conflict. So family conflict, I know what that is, right? But what do you mean by community disorganization? And again, how can we start thinking about this to help to lower that as a risk factor?
All right, community disorganization were these types of questions. How much do each of the following statements describe your neighborhood? Crime and/or drug selling, fights, lots of empty or abandoned buildings, lots of graffiti, and the last question is, I feel safe in my neighborhood. So those are things that you can affect. Those things are things that we can change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought this was a really interesting report. Thank you for this information. One of the things that popped out at me, though, was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like in a lot of these factors, when compared to the national results that come from monitoring the future,
Right.
Lowell is actually significantly lower in most cases, or at least somewhat lower in most cases.
Yeah, it is. It's something to be proud of.
I am proud of that, I guess. It surprises me a little bit, but I'm happy about that. At the same time, there are some things that are a little alarming, especially when we're looking at the responses from some of these, 6th and 7th graders. And I'm sure this is all confidential, but I'm wondering, is there any way, if we have a 6th grader who says, yes, I'm using inhalants, is there any way we can reach out to that person, or is that kind of ruin the...
Not through this survey, it's all anonymous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting, because, there's some of these responses would actually be red flags, right? Those are the kids we'd want. It'd be nice if we could somehow, identify those kids. And
Right,
see
it's
if we
not
can
even
address their
noted what
issues.
school they're from.
Okay.
Either.
Yeah, and I suppose you would ruin the integrity of the survey if we tried to do anything like that, so.
Right, then you might not get as honest a reply.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Durkin.
I just wanted to follow up with school committee Gendron's question relative to, do we have any way if a student does state that? So this year, in the Lowell schools, we initiated SBIRT, which is a screening tool that is utilized statewide. And all of our students in grades 7 and 9 participated in this screening tool this year with the support of our amazing nurses, social workers, guidance counselors, et cetera, in each of our buildings to initiate this research-based screening tool to ask very specific questions about whether a student has used or has been with someone who has used. So we do have that method in place right now for our 7th and 9th graders.
Thank you for that. I wonder if that's why we're lower than the national average. I would hope to think that it is. And that's an example of some of the things that I think the administration does that people don't hear about all the time, right? These type of reach-out programs that try to help these kids who are in need. And I think we can look at the dropout rate in the city, and that's directly due to the work that the head of school and the administration has done to identify the kids that are at risk and reach out to them and get them back in school. So thank you for the work you do in that regard.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you.
Can I ask if it's okay if I'm able to share this with the youth-serving organizations in the city so they can take appropriate action to their plans? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've already done 7.2, so we'll move on to 7.3, which is consideration of special transportation proposal by Pride Star. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following the meeting last week, I've asked our staff to follow up on the directive from the school committee to meet with Pride Star, and I have Mr. Frisch ready to present.
We have 2 registered speakers as well, but we'll take those after your presentation.
The administration has met with Pride Star and accepts their proposal for a start date not earlier than December 31st, 2017, and with an estimated start date in mid-February to be determined later. Contract, as proposed, would be for 3 years, with 2 one-year options. The amount would not exceed $9,743,520. I would like to, at this time, to invite David Daly, CEO of Pride Star, to present his company's proposal to the school committee for transportation services.
I'll get it right tonight. Members of the school committee, Mr. Mayor, the superintendent and senior administration, members of the school administration as well. Thank you for having us tonight. You know, we're here before the school committee, and I think it's only a matter of fact that we point out that we're all products. Pride Star EMS is products of the Lowell school system. We have our senior staff here, Brian Shanley, Lynn Snow, Frank McCabe, Jonathan Miller, myself. We all attended Lowell public schools, all went off to colleges, Ivy League colleges, and others, and we came back here and we're serving the pupils and citizens of Lowell. And I think that's really important as we could have gone to other places in other cities, but we all felt this same, you know, dedication to the city, which made us, you know, be a part of some really great companies. But at the end of the day, you know, we were able to be entrepreneurial in spirit, and we started Pride Star EMS and Pride Star Center for Applied Learning. Pride Star Center for Applied Learning is a center that specifically deals with children with autism and behavioral disorders. Obviously, Pride Star EMS transports medically fragile children and provides EMS services as well to the greater Lowell area. Over the last couple of weeks, since October 18th, we've had the pleasure of meeting with the superintendent and Gary and members of his staff, Donna and Jen and Dodie, and I can tell you, we share a really great camaraderie already doing a number of transports for the city, and we just further established the fact that we can provide such a better service that's being provided right now. We presented a proposal that includes number of letter of references from surrounding communities, including Barica and Tewksbury, that gave us accolades for providing these special needs services to these children. Obviously, there was an incident that occurred that kind of stemmed this issue, but as the superintendent pointed out, what we've seen, there's been a number of issues with the current provider. Tonight, we're going to talk about, I'm here to answer your questions and to go over the proposal. We're a company that is specially qualified to deal with special education transportation. Again, we have a team at Pride Star Center for Applied Learning of behavioral technicians and BCBAs that specialize in this. We have a team of drivers that in and day out provide these services not only to the greater Lowell community, but to the citizens of Lowell. We have a senior leadership team that's over here tonight that is absolutely 100% qualified as we lead our business units every day to take over this special education transportation. We understand how important this is. We understand the magnitude of this. As I pointed out, we are Lowell citizens. We've come back and we serve this community as owners and representatives of this company, but we also serve and dedicate our time to local boards and give significant amounts of philanthropy to local efforts. We are involved each and every day with the Lowell school system, whether it's through our philanthropic efforts or through Pride Star EMS and Pride Star Center for Applied Learning. There's a really great collaboration, as Jen alluded to a couple weeks ago, between the city and Pride Star EMS. We think we put together a really comprehensive platform here that addresses the fact that this current company, although it provides what they consider their best services, is lacking in some major areas, and that's technology and communication. We're here to provide those services. We're going to install software programs so that the parents and the teachers and the students can now see where their buses are. There's going to be no more complaints. We're going to make sure that every vehicle has a safety check in it that's not compliant right now and still not compliant. That issue that happened a couple months ago can happen tomorrow because those vehicles are not equipped with that checkmate piece of equipment, which, by the way, is specifically noted in the contract. There is what we consider some significant liability on the city's part through the lack of software, the lack of communication, and specifically this checkmate services that still has not been installed in the vehicles. Pride Star was looking forward to doubling down and making a $2 to $3 million equipment purchase for new buses and a whole new fleet that will not only have the checkmate system and the most newest checkmate system installed in it, but a 4-camera system with audio, as Jen requested, and an application called Safe Stop that these parents now can see exactly where the bus is, where it's going to be. The teachers, the principals can see this. In collaboration with this transition plan, we're going to meet, as we talked about today, with a SPED group. Our leadership team met with the SPED PAC last week and had a really good discussion. As we move through the transition plan here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to also open that up to the teachers and principals as well, because they also should be voices in this transition plan. They're important partners of ours, and at the end of the day, what's really important here is that the city and these students and these parents are our customers. No one does this better than us. I can tell you that right now. We have a really good reputation across the board, and we stand behind that. We are all local people. We all, like I said, we're all students of Lowell Public Schools, and we're proud to be here. This mission for the special education, we take this so seriously. We've been working on this day and night for the last month, and we have a team that's ready and willing to take it over, and we look forward to working with the city on this. And I open up to any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Gendron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that information, Mr. Daly. I had a question about your ability to be ready for the end of the year. I assume that you would need to acquire, a certain amount of equipment, buses, and these checkmate systems, and everything else that goes along with delivering this service in, we're talking about 7 weeks or so here. Are you in a position to be able to do that?
100%. We met with STA out of, they have 2 offices out of Charleston, South Carolina. That senior team came up yesterday. If we sign a agreement within the next couple of days, next week, they guaranteed a delivery of 60 vehicles by the end of December. We have that email and a document. We just got it today. We did have the meeting yesterday, so they have confirmed that these new assets would arrive by the end of December. Everything, and again, these would all be brand-new vehicles, amounting to about $2.8 million that we're willing to put our own money up to fulfill the obligations of the contract that's not being fulfilled right now. These buses aren't up to code. They're not up to the contract that specifies the requirements of these buses, and there's major safety issues. We're talking about liability. The current company, they consist of a lot of drivers that do a really great job, that are passionate about their job. I've heard from a number of them. They really love their job. I think the problem is they're not given the tools to be successful. One of the other components we're going to do is require 32 hours of training for these drivers. It's not currently part of the system. So we're going to give them the necessary tools to succeed.
And drivers, I guess was the other question. The 60 vehicles, but you're going to need a driver for each one of those vehicles. I'm sure they're not part of your staff right now, so what would you do there?
Well, you know, we're faced with the same issue any provider would take over with. At the end of the day, we're looking to hire the drivers that pass our background test that currently work for SPNR. As I noted, there's a lot of deeply committed personnel there. In the contract, you'll note that we've increased the base pay for, that's the only requirement in there is the driver has to make a minimum of, in our previous contract of $785. We're increasing that to $1,850. We're also going to be offering a sign-on bonus. We've also already set up a job fair that's going to take place a week from Saturday, and a second one, which is the November 18th, and a second one that's going to take place on November 28th. We have a team that's ready to onboard these people, offer them really competitive pay in a really good environment. If anyone's checked out Pride Star's website, we're a really employee-oriented company. From a big Christmas party to giving out turkeys next week to everyone, to the annual deep-sea fishing trip, to bonuses, to pay raises every year. We've given a pay raise to every one of our employees every year for the last 10 years. We are part of this community. We know and value the importance of this contract, and I'm going to tell you right now, as I said to Jen, we look forward to for you getting this contract and for her to say this is the best thing we've ever done. And we're there to prove that can be, we can be the service that we provide day in and day out to the current Lowell citizens, and we look forward to providing that level of care to the rest of these SPED students.
I also had a question I wanted to direct to Mr. Frisch. Mr. Frisch, you mentioned that this was a one-year, was it a one-year contract with 2 one-year options? Or a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options?
That's correct.
And so we have the ability to exercise those options every year?
Well, it'd be 3 years, and then...
So I guess what I'm asking is at the end of year 1, let's say things don't go well, we're not happy with the Pride Star service, do we have the right to put that contract out to bid and not go forward?
Same contract.
Yeah, it's a 3-year commitment for the contract. We would, in the previous contract, we had a 30-day out, but in this contract, I'll refer to David.
Yes, we're proposing a 3-year contract with 2 one-year extensions. The city legally can't, without a city council vote, go past a 3-year without getting city council approval. Again, as noted, we're looking to make a significant investment in not just assets, but part of that is software, camera systems, radio systems, and also like this, we're going to pay for this, what's called this Safe Stop application. Every teacher and anyone who wants it, any teacher, pupil, the administration is going to have it, and they can actively look. Instead of Jen getting those multiple calls from parents or principals, they can all look at the app and say, all right, the bus is on Gorham Street, and they'll update them with any changes for the students or the bus if there's an accident. It's state-of-the-art software right now. The current provider doesn't use any software. If there's an extra student or someone skipping, they're sending out a big text messages. People aren't getting them. People are getting dropped off. There was an incident again the other day. That won't happen when you have the application and good sound management overseeing it.
Okay, so I guess it's a three-year commitment and then
Three-year commitment.
two-year additional options at
And
the end of that.
two-year, exactly.
So 5-year potential here.
Potential 5 years, that's correct.
Okay.
And it's subject to annual appropriation each year.
The other thing, too, is we adopted the rates of the current contractors' rates for this year. They had a rate increase for next year. We've kept the budget neutral, so we match those rates from this year to next year, so there's no increase in that year, while also, again, putting up to almost $3 million at risk for that. So I think that shows our willingness to put forward, our own money and put our money where our mouth is on this contract.
That's correct. The proposal by Pride Star is slightly lower in cost for the year and a half. They're holding the rates for a year and a half.
Okay, that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Starry.
I guess I'm just trying to compare apples to apples, because I have a total number, so the total number of $9,743,520, whatever, that 9 million number is for the whole 3-year term?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, that's for the whole 3-year term.
So the first year and a half is how much less than what we would have had with SPNR?
How much is it? Well, but the total savings on a year, I think it's about.
I thought you were holding the second
We are,
year.
so. No, but compared to SPNR, John, on the second year.
So what's the savings?
I think we did that model, I thought it was about $100,000, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's in that range. That was
About
what I came up
$100,000.
with.
So
That's why I said slightly lower than our current price.
And then what happens for the year after that?
Year 3, there's an uptick, a slight uptick. Again, that's just to cover those costs for the new assets that we had purchased a year and a half before.
So what's a slight uptick, 100,000?
It's probably, again, only, I think it's overall, it's about a budget, on a 3-year, again, it's going to be less than their proposal, about 75, I think it was about $75,000 to $100,000 increase.
So over the 3 years, it's going to go down 100,000 for the second year and then go up 75,000 for the third year, ballpark?
I'd have to look at that, but I think the third year is going to be about a $50,000 increase. So I think overall, it's still a budget, it's going to be a budget savings for the city. I'd have to confirm that. Again.
Mr. Frisch, do you know how much of a budget savings it would be for us?
Over 3 years, I think, one thing that we haven't talked about is the efficiency that can occur. So in other words, can we consolidate some routes? Can we use different equipment to save some dollars and have less buses, but larger buses to carry more students?
That's a great point. So what our savings, if you just look at numbers, it's not a good matrix to use, because currently the current provider doesn't use a software system, and B, they make their own routing system, so they kind of define their own future. With our proposal, and it's right in the proposal, the city is going to define the routes and off the VersaTrans system, the software system, and create some efficiencies in that. So they're going to define the routes. We'll work collaboratively with them, but through that, with economies of scale, with our units already on the road, the routing software that helps really clearly define the best, most efficient routes, we think there's going to be some serious savings. The problem being was the current provider had that information, and we just got it, and it's 1,100 kids. So we're trying to vet that right now, but we know in conjunction, we've discussed with Gary, we think there's going to be significant savings with efficiencies there.
Meaning that number would go down then?
Correct, yes.
For the
overall
3-year
actual
contract?
Yes, because that contract just is based on current volume and the current pricing, whereas ours are going to have less buses and more efficiencies and collaboration of different buses working together and utilizing our system, our current vehicles that are on the road.
Sorry, so does that mean that the number that you gave us could go down?
That's correct.
That's not a hard and fast number?
Oh, no, it could go down.
I see that somebody wants.
Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to answer Ms. Doherty on your question, when you said, what's the saving, potential saving in the first year, is nearly, you say, around $100,000 due to the fact that they're holding the rates at the same rates as this year, not increasing them as per the contract that we currently have with SPNR, where they would be increased. However, you asked the second question, what's the saving the following year? We do not know, because the current contract of SPNR only has a year and a half left. We have no idea what their new rates would be for a following year had they stayed with us. So there is no comparison basis. I just didn't want to make sure that, you know, it's not that we didn't calculate them, we don't have what to calculate them against.
Just to your point, they did have their options.
Right.
So we could probably guess, based on the contract that we signed with them, what those increases would have been. I mean, option 4 here shows shows what the increases are. So, I mean, you had those numbers.
There are other things as well that are into consideration, potential savings, potential increases.
Right,
in
but you were
both,
talking
yeah.
about not being able to,
Right,
that it was
not
just a
full,
year and a
yes,
half, so.
I would just let,
So we should
Mr.
be able to
Doherty's-
calculate out what those.
Mr. Doherty's got the floor.
I'm so sorry, I was.
Are you all set?
or,
You're all set?
I'm set for now. I'd like to hear what Mr. Frisch wants to say.
Go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Doherty. I think the point that we want to underline in bold is that this number is not to exceed. So we can come well under, and that was the question you asked, because of efficiencies that David Daly has spoke about.
Right now, the problem is, Ms. Story, the city doesn't control the mechanisms in which they can save money. They have zero control of it. And we are promoting the city to have that control and to be on the same software platform so that we can work together. And the city will define, we've already discussed this with the transportation department, they're currently at the mercy of the current provider in providing the best efficiencies. Well, I don't think that's happening. From what we saw, it's not happening. And our contract proposal clearly defines the fact that the city's in control of that, and they will define how many buses are being used. And I can see from what we've already determined from the initial routing stuff we put together that there's going to be savings.
Are you all set?
Well, actually, I have one more question, and I don't know because I didn't hear back from the solicitor. We had another proposal on the table that was emailed to us that spoke specifically about millions in savings. And although I love everything that Pride Star has presented today, it seems like it would be a wonderful service. You know, the monetary piece of it is also a factor. And looking at if there are savings of $1 million or over $1 million, I think the letter was 1.9 million in savings. That's almost $2 million. I want to at least understand what that offer is. So I'm not sure if this is the right time or the place to do it, but that's where I'm coming from with that.
Okay. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to point out that at the last meeting, the administration had mentioned that Pride Star is currently filling in on areas where our current provider is failing. And that's an area for potential savings. We're not going to have to call another vendor to come in and pick up the slack. So I think that's a great area. And I think probably the most attractive piece of this proposal is the real investment that the company's making in our special education students. And I had no idea about the app that you're going to provide, but I think that will provide a lot of relief to families when they send their special needs student on a bus. And another area is the relationship with the Center for Applied Learning. I think just the expertise of the staff is very attractive to me with this project. I just wanted to mention the potential savings, but thank you very much.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, thank you, Mr. Daly.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. Yes. Based on the conversation that I had today and the superintendent had today with the city solicitor, I would recommend that the board go into executive session to discuss this further, at least for a short period of time, and then reconvene in open session. I would anticipate that the executive session would last 15 or 20 minutes. I would offer that as a motion to the body. Do we have a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Mr. Gendron.
Can I make
Yes.
I have another question. Mr. Superintendent, I think you mentioned to me that we've gotten a letter from SBNR stating that they wish to cease and desist servicing us. Because
Yes,
is this
we did.
inappropriate to talk about?
Let's go to executive session if we
All
can.
right.
Okay? Roll call on executive session.
Before we go into executive session, do you
Yes.
want to let the speakers who signed up to speak?
Oh, yes, okay.
I think that would be,
Good idea.
Yeah, let's do that.
if we could just hear from the...
First speaker, Mr. Michael Tatro.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Public speaking is not my forte, so I'm going to go ahead and do the best I can. I'm a 42-year-old father of 6. I reside in the city in White Street, Pawtuckettville. I pride myself on being a parent first and foremost. Not Ivy League educated. I'm a blue-collar individual that owns a small construction company. I provide for my children the best I can, and it's very important to me that all my children are educated. They're all public school educated. 3 are now off and entering into college. About 10 years back, I had a child born under some very difficult circumstances. He was cord-wrapped at birth, and he was later found to have had cerebral palsy. He suffers from a seizure disorder. He's legally blind. I could go on and on. It's been a difficult road and a challenging, but to me a blessing. I believe this child is a gift from God. At the same time I was finding what his diagnosis was, I had found out I was going to have my 5th child, his brother. 4 years into Dylan's life, his mother passed away, and I was left with the challenge of raising these 2 young boys by myself. It's been truly the greatest experience of my life. I've learned to educate myself, but most importantly, I've learned to advocate for my child, to speak to people that don't understand what it's like to be voiceless. I've had a lot of experiences in dealing with transportation, and none of them, until this past year, were something I would be proud to speak of. I dealt with SPNR for approximately 7 years. I had different drivers, change drivers, drivers that weren't familiar with my child. Now, anybody that knows these children, repetition is very important to them. They depend on hearing the same voice. They depend on somebody that knows their needs and their wants, their desires, what their cries, what their tones are. My child is completely nonverbal. He does not sit, he does not stand, he does not do anything. However, he is the most wonderful human being you will ever meet. He's changed my life for the better. Dealing with SBNR throughout the years, I've gotten no shows, no calls. When calling to find out where the bus is, now I'll remind you, I have a lot of children to support. College payments is something I was not expecting. It's important for me to be on time for work. I own my own business, I have a lot of flexibility, but I also have to set an example for my employees. Being late is not an option for me. My day starts at 4:30 a.m. I get sleepless nights, I'm up in the middle of the night constantly. 4 hours of sleep is a a norm in my life. 6 hours of sleep is a blessing. A lot of times when I call SPNR and ask them what the story was, I was greeted with very rude responses that I just couldn't believe that I was hearing, okay? I was talked to like I was less than, like my child didn't matter. I often felt like my child was just a number in a system, just a dollar value that was placed on him and what his cost of transportation could provide. That really bothered me. However, I learned how to use my voice and to speak up. I would often call John Dakota. He was a very unhelpful man himself. Jennifer could attest to the amount of times that I've had meetings where John just didn't show up. John didn't attend them. John gave me no reason why he wouldn't be there. He gave me every excuse in the world and did nothing to help my child be ensured of a safe, reliable means of transportation to school. I had to fight for years to get a nurse on board with my child, although neurologist, Harvard-educated from Boston, would write letters saying that he has seizure disorder. He's on multiple medications. Seemed to fall on deaf ears a good majority of the time. I was finally furnished with a nurse for Dylan, whom I believe was in her late 80s, early 90s. And it's not a joke. I'm not exaggerating that fact. I often find myself at work 40 feet in the air on a roof or on a ladder. I operate saws, heavy equipment. I have a very dangerous job. Large majority of the time at work, I would be stressed and worried. Did Dylan make it to school? Did the bus break down? I've had numerous buses come in and the hydraulics wouldn't work on the lifts, okay? Doors wouldn't open. Heat wasn't working. This is specifically with SPNR. I also dealt with Trombley Motor Coach for, I believe, a year. They were no better. They, in fact, were worse. A lot of no-shows, no reasons. You know, my child was late from school. Now, I, as a parent, if my children show up late for school 6, 7 times a year, I get a nice letter in the mail and a phone call, and I'm accused of being a bad parent. However, my child was late for school 6 or 7 times, to no fault of mine, but for the transportation company that was provided for my child. I met Jennifer maybe about a year ago, when she called me in for a meeting when I couldn't get in touch with Mr. Dakota. I couldn't get any answers from him. I was pleasantly surprised at how much she cared and how much effort she put into finding solutions for my child. I feel as though I had made an ally at the school department. She had come at me a couple times with some suggestions. She asked me for suggestions, which I felt good about because I felt like I was finally heard. Late last year, she offered me a resolution with Pride Star coming in. She told me that there would be EMTs, or this was actually early in this year, I believe. EMTs on board, which I think is just, how could that not make sense, okay? These people deal with hospitals. They know how to stop a bus when my child's seizing and turn it around and go immediately to a hospital. They know protocol. They know how to deal with the situation. You know what I'd get with SPNR or Trombley? A two-way radio and somebody panicking because they're not schooled in how to deal with a child with having a seizure. Their biggest care is whether their bus has heat in the morning, okay? They're full of complaints. They're disgruntled employees because they're given less than stellar equipment to try and do their job. I met Mr. McCabe recently. It's been nothing but a pleasure with dealing with Pride Star. I've never met any of these other gentlemen until tonight. Dylan's first day of school this year, Frank reached out to me at the end of the day and asked me how it went. Gave me a great feeling, and I've been left with that feeling. I now get to go to work and be stress-free. I don't have to worry. I don't have to lose time making money for my family, to support them, to pay my property taxes, okay? To do all the things that I need to do to provide for my children. I'm not a man that asks for a lot. I don't complain about anything. I came up poor. I've worked hard. I've made something of myself. I am the pride of this city, okay? I don't think that these children should be looked at as a number or some type of financial
Mr.
constraint.
Tatro, you're way over the time.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. You can wrap it up if you want, but
I move that we waive the time word. Go ahead, wrap it up. You look like you had a big finish.
No, I think I've said enough and I've got my point across. I really would hope that you all could consider Pride Star. I believe that they provide respectful employees. They're always well-dressed, well-mannered, uniformed, always on time, never late. They have equipment that appears to me to be very proficient for what they need. And I, again, appreciate your time. Thank you.
thank you. Adrian Fontaine?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity. I just started with Pride Star. I find them to be an exceptional company to work for. They have, they're respectful. They go out of their way to make an employee feel good about what they're doing every day. I've been a special needs driver for 15 years, and I appreciate the care that they take for us and the kids to have that day. It's a stressful job. We need to be supported also. You know, the parents, the kids, the drivers, we need support. And I feel that they would be better equipped because I think I see it. I mean, we drive, they also have the livery for the cancer center. I mean, I do that too with them. So I drive the kids, and then in the middle, I'll drive to the cancer center, which I love. It's all the same thing. It's all a big circle of how they care about their clients. So I just wanted to let you know that, and they have welcomed me with open arms, which I haven't seen that for a long time, and I have worked for NRT Trombley. I'm not, you know, I loved my job. I was a dedicated employee, and your company is only as good as your people, how you treat them. That's all I can say. This team of people, Mr. Daly and this team, they're exceptional. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the speakers. Roll call on going into executive session.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Do executive session down the hall. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Here.
Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Hoey?
Here.
Mayor Kennedy?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Dakota?
Yeah.
7 present.
Okay, just to refresh everybody's memory, we are on 7.3, consideration of special transportation proposal by Pride Star. Mr. Gendron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I have 3 meetings left. I was kind of hoping that I could just sort of slide out and, take a victory lap, maybe, but not to be. We got some real important issues to deal with, and this has been a doozy. We've all been saddled with a situation where we have a special needs provider that is not meeting our standards, and we need to take action about it. But it's very complicated. There's a lot of complex issues involved, and I want to thank Pride Star, everybody from Pride Star, for coming down here tonight and giving us a fabulous presentation, and it certainly gave me a lot of confidence that you could provide this service. We've been given advice from the city solicitor that she has some investigation that she wants to do, and we have another meeting in 6 days, and she would like some time to investigate some things related to the contract and report back to us. So I would like to make the motion that we delay any action on this until our next meeting on November 15th.
We have a motion to delay action until till November 15th by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Mr. Dakota. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
No.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay. Approved.
The next item on the agenda is 7.5, overtime and extra earnings report. Any discussion? Hearing none, the next item is a monthly financial report. Any discussion? Hearing none, the next item is a dissertation instrument report. Any discussion? And the monthly district enrollment report. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just an idea that I had. This is something we had done in some of my previous districts. Since this is always a topic of interest, we thought starting this meeting, we will be giving you every meeting just a summary sheet of all the attendance, the student attendance in all the schools. And then obviously, if you have any questions, you can ask, but it'll keep you informed. So we didn't necessarily have it as a response to anything. It's just something that we thought we're going to start as a tradition. Every meeting will give you the status as of that just before the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the reports of the superintendent and place them on file. Do we have a motion to that effect by Mr. Hoey, second by Mr. Gignac? Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under new business, we have Lowell High School Athletics Rule 53 waiver request. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Next, we have a donation acceptance for Lowell STEM clubs. Do we have a motion to approve the donation by Mr. Hoey, seconded by Ms. Martin? Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Next, we have a budget transfer. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Mr. Hoey, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac? Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Next, we have convention and conference requests. We have 5 requests on the agenda this evening. Is there a motion to approve the request? By Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Gendron. Discussion?
On the motion.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Question.
Mr. Gendron.
Yeah, I have a question on the This is 8th grade Wang trip, Tuesday, May 29th through Friday, June 1, to Washington, D.C. You know, we need to have a policy on this. This is a school week that we're taking some of the kids out and we're taking them to D.C., and I think that's great. I mean, I think bringing kids to Washington, D.C. is a wonderful thing, and 8th grade is a perfect time to do it. I've been on, you know, I've chaperoned 3 of those myself, but it was always during school vacation. You know, I have a hard time kind of stomaching when we have these trips that go overseas, you know, adding a day off, you know, taking a day off the end of the vacation. You know, I've kind of come to terms with that, you know, it makes sense because those trips are so valuable for high school students. But taking a group of 8th graders for a week to Washington, D.C. During the school week, I don't know if that's a policy or a trend, you know, we want to set. And not only that, it's paid for by the students, so it's, you know, you have to have enough money to pay for this trip, and I'm sure there's a lot of students in the school that aren't going to be able to afford themselves with this trip. So it's a school-sponsored trip. We're allowing them to take time out. We're going to pay for substitutes, and I don't know. I hate to rain on a vacation, but this one really kind of bothers me. I guess I'd like to suggest that I send this back to the superintendent. We send this back to the superintendent to, you know, maybe make a recommendation on how, and develop a policy on how we handle proposed school trips during school days. So I'd like to make that as a motion, that we pull this one out and ask the superintendent to make a recommendation on this and develop a policy for trips during school time.
Okay, so Mr. Gendron is asking for an amendment. Do we have a motion in the first place? No. Okay. So can we have a motion to approve items 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, and 9.5? And to send 9.4 back to the superintendent?
For recommendation and
recommendation.
development of a policy with regard to trips during school time.
Okay, so that's the motion, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Ms. Doherty.
If I could add, I believe that we have a policy that, I didn't realize that that was during school days, because you'll notice it says no substitute teachers are needed. I didn't, but we have a policy that we don't take kids out of school. So I would like more information about that. I think
It does say in the letter that it's during school time. Maybe they don't need subs because they're taking an entire class, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, well, that's the motion as stated. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Next is item 11.1, which is donated sick days. Do we have a motion to approve a donation of 60 sick leave days? Motion approved by Mr. Hoey, seconded by Mr. Gendron. Discussion, roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
That concludes the regular agenda. Oh, okay, we still need to take a vote on permission to enter, which we have not done.
I thought we delayed that until the next meeting.
No, there were two other items.
Just that one item out of permission to enter, just the bus transportation part of it, but the rest of it needs to be approved this evening. We have a motion to approve the
Sure,
remaining
I'll
items?
approve the remaining items.
All right, but by Mr. Generous, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Discussion, roll call.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac? Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
So that concludes the regular agenda. And if I could, I would like to propose the following schedule for evaluation of the superintendent. That on 11/15 will be a presentation by the superintendent for evaluation, the year in review. And then the forms would be given to the school committee on that day. On the 30th, or between the 15th and the 30th, each of the members can meet with the superintendent individually to discuss anything they want. And then all forms will be due in the mayor's office on December 1 and would be taken up at the December 6th meeting. Is everybody good with that schedule? Ms. Martin?
I am fine with that schedule, but I was hoping to take a point of personal privilege before we break for the executive session, and it is actually somewhat to that point. We have a great deal of outstanding work ahead of us, and as Mr. Genron had pointed out, 3 meetings to take advantage of both he and Mr. Gignak's expertise. I was hoping we could, at our next meeting, and I can put it in the form of the motion if that's necessary, but I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. There are subcommittees that have not been scheduled. There are motions that have not been answered. There's a great deal, and the evaluation I would have included, but at least, so we've got a schedule for that. With 3 meetings left to go, we really need to kind of have a very clear pathway of how we're going to get all this information and be able to, kind of make the votes we need to make between now and the end of the school year, the end of the calendar year, rather. So if, just again, I am saying as a point of personal privilege, I would encourage both the committee and the administration to be prepared at the next meeting to be able to very clearly delineate when everything will be scheduled between now and that I think it's I'm not sure what the final meeting is in December. But to be able to ensure that we're reviewing the quarterly reports of outstanding motions so we can bring up exactly what we need, and that the administration will have time to produce all the reports we're going to really require between now and the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one thing, Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to say congratulations to Dominic Lee, sitting in the crowd there. Congratulations, Dominic. Welcome aboard, buddy.
And also, Mr. Nutter was here earlier. You probably want to congratulate him as well.
Jerry Nutter.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. General.
To that point, in the past, we've always invited the incoming school committee members to join in the meetings, not as voting members, but to sit on the floor with us. We do have a couple of extra chairs at the end here, so I would like to suggest that Mr. Lay and Mr. Nutter be invited to the remaining meetings.
Okay. Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of reviewing, consideration, and discussion of the LSAA collective bargaining proposals, fact-finding and strategies, and an update and discussion on the Lowell High School site litigation. So motion to that effect by Mr. Hoey, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Discussion, roll call. We will be, we'll adjourn from executive session.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac? Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.